Hello and welcome to Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. This is Stefan, your host, British by birth, American by choice. The Founding Fathers crafted some remarkable documents that led to the creation of a great country founded on liberty and self-reliance. I have lived in the Euro-socialist nightmare, and I'm doing what I can to return this country to the vision that the Founding Fathers gave us. We need to strive to rebuild that shining city on the hill, for without us, the world has nowhere to turn for freedom. For the next hour, I will be presenting news, views, and guests that help keep the true spirit of America alive. And folks, yes, here we go again. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately. Another rip-roaring show tonight. Plenty of blood-boiling topics as well. Coming to you, episode 319 of Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. Coming from the man who sounds a little bit like the Founding Fathers. Hopefully, I would like to think I do at least, whether it's the accent, whether it's what I say. But, lots to talk about tonight. And, of course, I will be saying hi to the folks joining us in the chat room shortly. I see that Rex has already arrived. We'll wait for the others, and then I'll do a more formal welcome then. So, what are we going to be talking about tonight? Well, of course, there's another primary or primaries. One Republican in Oregon, two for the Democrat Party. Let's see, that was Oregon and Kentucky. Now, I think Trump right now, looking at the latest count, is 80-something, 87 or so delegates from being the official nominee and not just the presumptive. There are 423 left to go, so can't see him missing that. And it's just past 11 p.m. Eastern. The polls in Oregon are closed, and I think we'll very soon be hearing that he has won another 28 there. So 28 off of that 87 brings him up to about 60 to go. So, folks, if it was ever in any doubt, he will be the nominee. Now, of course, there are still a few a-holes in the Republican Party who are trying to set up a third-party run and hoping somehow to derail Trump. The only thing that will happen if we derail Trump is that we will re-rail Hillary, who's about to go off the rails, I think, but it will give her a chance. The only valid excuse that I've heard was someone, and I say valid, it's a very tenuous thing, who said that these third-party nutcases led by Mitt Romney, the traitor. Right, we all swallowed and held our noses when he was the nominee because he wasn't perfect, but we supported him, and so did all the other candidates. But he, Ben Sass, Bill Kristol are still fighting hard to try and get a third party going. And what I heard was the idea would be that if they could pull enough votes from both Hillary and from Trump, but primarily from Trump, so that none of them had a majority in the Electoral College, then it would go to the Congress, where the Congress could then decide, and where obviously the Republicans do hold sway, and that would then the Congress would decide who the president's going to be. Well, I think that's very tenuous, because if they pull votes away, unfortunately, it's most likely to be votes on on the Republican side of the aisle, and that means that Hillary would still get the majority of the Electoral College, and that would mean America would cease to exist as we know it today. If you can imagine the Supreme Court with three very left-wing justices, like the ones we have on there now, who just take decisions based on party ideology and not following the law. It's just horrific to think about it. So Romney, and I know he's not listening, but anybody who's supporting those nutcases, get your head out of your ass and realize what you're doing. There is only one thing we can do. We have to support the Republican Party, because as many commentators, not just me, I've been saying this for a while, but I'm glad to hear others on the radio as well now echoing what I've said, and that is, you may not be too happy with Trump. You may not be very trusting that he will be the conservative that we'd all like him to be, and I won't disagree with that. But are you really going to throw him away in exchange for a known socialist, a known progressive, a known regressive, a known left-wing bitch like Hillary, who can't be trusted, who lies and cheats and is the most corrupt politician possibly that we've had in centuries? Folks, yeah, if they continue down that path, they are just absolute idiots. And as far as the left wing is concerned, useful idiots, because they're doing exactly what they want. Now, we have some problems on the Republican side. But the good news is, it's not totally smooth sailing for Hilliar herself. Now, as far as I can see, with, I think last time I looked, it was 99% of the vote counted, that of the bound delegates in Kentucky, they had been equally split between Hillary and Sanders. Now, so Hillary will, of course, harp on the fact that she actually got a few tenths of a percent more than Sanders and say that she won. She did not. Technically, she may have won with a few tenths of a percent, but in actual fact, in practicality, she lost badly here. Apparently, she in the elections 8 years ago, she had a 35% lead over Barack Obama in Kentucky, and now with Sanders to be, within just a few tenths of a percent within her, close to her, is a huge loss for her. And I believe she's going to lose Oregon as well. So, not good for Hillary. Now, of course, hardly surprising, because Kentucky is also a coal mining state. And, of course, she's so friendly to the coal miners. But, well, whatever, stupid woman. Of course, the question is the air running out of her campaign? She has not clearly won a state for over 20, probably 22, 23 states, primaries recently. And if you sort of say, okay, Kentucky, yes, it's a win, but it's not a clear win. Yeah, definitely. So over 20 states that she has not won, Sanders, and that's in a row. And Sanders has been catching up. So can he get enough momentum to persuade some of those unbound delegates to vote for him at the convention, go into a contested convention? I know the left-wing media, well, I should just say the media, because pretty much they're all left-wing. The lamestream media was crowing about the chance that there would be a contested convention on the Republican side. That's not going to happen now, and now it looks like it will happen on the Democrat side. Very interesting, but you don't see the lamestream media saying anything. And Rex says in the chat room, Sanders voters will stay home. Some will. I think maybe a third, roughly, will stay home. A third might even come out to vote and vote for Trump. It's going to be a very interesting election. While we talk about the lamestream media, well, and I didn't actually have that in my notes tonight, but I do want to mention a couple of things. First of all, let's talk about the Washington Post. The revelations that the Washington Post has a team of 20 researchers, journalists, digging back as far as they can go to dig up any kind of dirt that they can find on Donald Trump. Now, the Washington Post is part of a free press. And the free press is known as the Fourth Estate. They are supposed to be the ones that kind of keep tabs on our politicians and make sure that we know all about them and that they are kept honest. So doing that is in of itself not a bad thing. Going back 20, 30, 40 years to find out what he said, who he dated, etc., I think is a bit far. But the Fourth Estate should keep tabs on our politicians. What is wrong about the whole thing, though, and of course there is something wrong, is that there are zero researchers going out and looking for stuff on Hilliar. And believe me, they could do it with 5, and they would find enough to fill the Washington Post from here till November with all the crap that she's done. But will they do that? No. Why is that? Because we've allowed the regressives to take over. We've been asleep at the wheel. We allowed the regressives to move themselves into positions of power. And it isn't just political positions of power, but also in the media. They knew if they took over the media, they could control the messages. They could control the masses. And, that's exactly what they did. So I'm going to be talking a little bit more about people in positions of power, because I think we're at a very dangerous point right now. But how could we do it? I wish the Koch brothers would go out and buy some of these ailing newspapers and bolster them up and get them working again. Now, thank goodness we have the internet for as long as it lasts, till King Barry shuts that down because he doesn't like what we're saying on it. We'll see. Now, of course, the Washington Post is the only one. Isn't the only one I want to rant against. I also want to do a little bit of a rant against the New York Times. I know you've probably seen some of that on the TV, but I do want to have my say about that. But before I do that, folks, guess what? It is time for a commercial break, and that will give me a chance to have a sip of one of my beers. I know it's one that I'd sent a few months ago to Rex, and I know he liked it. So, Rex, this is that Belgian wit that I was drinking, the Whitechapel. This is a fresh batch, and it's even better than the last one. Anyway, time for the commercials. I'll be back shortly.
You can lose 10, 20, 30 pounds or more with Maximum Slim's first ever rapid weight loss guarantee. Today, you get Maximum Slim, an advanced fat and carb blocker, absolutely risk-free. The all-natural ingredients in Maximum Slim are a powerful weight loss combination. The Maximum Slim formula turns your body into a fat-burning burning furnace that supercharges your weight loss. Advanced Fat and Carb Blocker stops the breakdown of sugar so your body doesn't store it as fat. Today, you'll get both of these products absolutely risk-free with no obligation. Only pay shipping. There are no expensive meal plans or exhausting DVDs. Just take Maximum Slim twice a day. It's fast, simple, and now it's guaranteed. Look, you can start losing weight today or not. Go back to your high school days and wear your favorite jeans again. Guaranteed. Call now and get both weight loss formulas free. Call 800-451-0228. 800-451-0228. That's 800-451-0228.
Doc, you gotta give it to me straight.
All right.
'Cause I'm dying here. I mean, take a look at this letter from the IRS.
Oh, my.
This is killing me, Doc. I tell you, it's killing me.
Cheer up, my friend.
Huh?
The tax doctor is here. My diagnosis tells me that you're going to be just fine.
Really?
The tax doctor will not rest until we find you the best possible tax settlement.
Really, Doc?
Guaranteed.
If the IRS claims you owe them $10,000 or more in business or personal back taxes, call a tax doctor right now. We could save you up to 75% if you qualify. Guaranteed or you pay nothing. Call right now for free details.
800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. That's 800-917-8546.
Do you have pain from arthritis in your knees? It's no wonder. Osteoarthritis affects 1 in 2 adults. That's 50% of us in our lifetime will suffer from arthritis knee pain. If you're covered by Medicare or within 90 days of turning 65, we can help relieve your knee pain. Call right now and see how you can get a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. 800-296-1257. 800-296-1257. At the Health Alert Hotline, we have consultants ready to help you learn how an easy-to-wear knee brace can help stop the pain so you can be active again. And after we work with Medicare to get you approved, you can get our high-quality pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. Call the Health Alert Hotline right now for free shipping and to learn more. 800-296-1257. 800-296-1257. That's 800-296-1257.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us. And folks, this is Stephanie Patrick Come Lately. We were talking about the lamestream media, talked about the Washington Post and how they've got these droves of researchers and journalists trying to dig up the dirt on Donald Trump, and of course the New York Times this weekend published a hit piece, which was very interesting. They went back sort of 30 years as well and dug up all sort of stuff. Like I said, if you go back 30 years and dig up Hilliar and bring in a little bit of Bill Clinton there as well, like I said, those two newspapers could fill their front pages from now till November and perhaps beyond with all the stuff they could dig up. But they're going to do that? Oh, no. So the New York Times, as well, started inventing stuff because it just couldn't find anything that was really bad enough about Trump. And, of course, then what happened next day on Fox News Channel, one of the ladies that had been interviewed stood up and said, sorry, that's not what I told them, and they promised me they were not doing a negative hit piece, and they have twisted my words, etc., and just totally turned it around. So you see, they can't even dig up any dirt because there's no dirt to find, so they have to invent it. How can you trust your newspapers? New York Times, New York Slimes is what it is. And, it's just absolutely disgusting. Of course, with the First Amendment, it's very difficult to sue anybody for slander. But if you haven't heard, let me just give you one example. And that really made, I've been saying in the chat room that blood boiling topics tonight. So here's an example of the blood boiling. The lady that was interviewed, she was a model at the time. She was being dated by him. And she said she was somewhere at one of the hotels, and they were going to the pool, and Trump asked if she had a bathing suit with her so she could go swimming. She said, no, I don't. So he showed her a cupboard where he had all sorts of bathing suits. She picked out a very nice bikini. Well, she's a model, so she probably had a gorgeous body. What's wrong with that? She put that on, and then Trump took her out to the pool and basically paraded her around and say, look, isn't this a beautiful Trump girl? And of course, that's where the New York Times stopped and said, see, that's demeaning to women. Well, the woman in question actually said she was very proud of what he said, and she felt very honored by what he was saying. But they didn't put that in his article. Trump also gave them a long list of names of people, women that he had supported in business and helped them get better jobs and move up the chain. None of them were interviewed. It is just so absolutely corrupt, I think, is the only word. But then again, anything to do with the regressives is corrupt. And I'm going to show you tonight, at least as much as I can. I got a list of things, like I said, and each one of them in of itself is enough to send your blood pressure through the roof, have blood spurting from your eyes, from your nose, from your mouth, wherever. And I just made a comment in the chat room, because to coin a phrase, blood spurting from wherever, I think was used by Trump as well. And of course, everybody seized on that. So no, I'm not a misogynist either, and neither is he. And I think that's been proven. And I'll go back and let me just reiterate one thing. Trump has said some uncomplimentary things about persons who happen to be female. That's the way I want to do it. Because he says exactly the same things about persons that happen to be male. And I was very pleased that on Fox News, Ainsley Earhart this week, I can't remember whether it was Tuesday or Wednesday of last week, sorry, not this week, last week, or maybe it was later in the week, Thursday or Friday. But fairly recently, she actually also reiterated that and said, yes, he may say bad things to women, but he also says bad things to men. And she actually said, what I've been saying is actually, the feminists have been asking for equality. Well, Donald Trump is the most equal opportunity person, because he will just say nasty things about someone, whether they're male or female. It doesn't matter to him. And, and I agree with it. Feminists, you can't have it both ways. If you want equality, then, yes, people might say nasty things about you. You can't expect people to treat you nicely if you want equality. What do you want? One thing or the other, folks. But, of course, that's the hypocrisy, that's the double standard that we have from the regressive. So, they're children. What else can you expect? Or it's a mental disease. I think Michael Savage said that, right? Liberalism is a mental disease. It is. Totally. Totally. So, let's see. Now, before we go to the next topic, let me just do my... I've got a rather serious thing I want to mention, just very quickly, but... So we're going to have some more blood spurting topics, blood boiling topics, whatever you want to call it. But I think this first one, as far as I'm concerned, is really bad, right? We're talking about unconstitutionality. But I was thinking, when I was collecting some of these things together, and a lot of them are things that King Barry's been doing, and I thought, you know what? it's been very quiet. You know what I've missed recently? I've missed this. Yes, as far as I can see, don't hear a lot about King Barry being out on the golf course. Now, I'm sure in the weekend he probably gets to one of the golf courses somewhere around Washington. But seems to be very quiet. Not a lot of vacation, not a lot of golf courses. And then I suddenly realized why. He's basically into his last few months of his reign of terror might be a better description. And he's working hard to push through as much crap as he can. And I'm going to start with the most recent and the most egregious example that he just did. And, of course, I'm talking about the latest letter that went out from the White House to all the schools across the nation, threatening them that they must set up transgender bathroom policies which allow boys to go into the girls' restrooms and locker rooms or risk losing federal funding. Now, thank goodness there are a few governors out there with backbone who stood up and said, F you, Barry, we're not going to accept what you're doing. Be interesting to see whether or not they can stand straight on that. And of course, the money that's being withheld, federal money, a lot of the time is for poor people. It pays for things like the free school lunches that are for low-income people. So Barry is hurting his own people just to prove a point. But then again, we know that he's a twisted, distorted asshole like that because he did the same with the national parks when we had the shutdown, the government shutdown, right? There was no need to do a lot of what was done because they just needed to withdraw the people. Instead, they spent more time policing and stopping people from using the parks than they apparently didn't have money to police them, but instead they policed them to stop people going in. So it's that kind of asshole attitude that he has, and so completely see him doing the same thing here. So hopefully the governors will stand tall and straight and just put both their middle fingers right in his face. So, the threat of losing federal funding. To me, it's actually unbelievable how far the little dictator thinks he can go with his edicts. And the Republicans just do nothing. I can't understand why the Congress is not leading an army of people to the fence of the White House and demanding the resignation of Mr. Obama, or why they're not speeding up the possible impeachment. Now, let's face it, this whole thing is not about the 0.3% of the population who'll be affected by these changes. It's about destroying the culture and morals of this country and taking over power over those of us that want to keep the country the way it is, to keep the morals the way it is. They want to destroy our way of life in all its facets. King Barry said 7 years ago that he was starting the fundamental transformation of this country, and now we see how bad things are and how much he's been able to carry out. And my expectation, as I mentioned a little earlier, is that in the last few months of his reign, he will step up his executive orders and the regulations issued by the different departments. Now remember, the different departments have been seeded with radical left-wing zealots, seated in positions of power, people like Koskinen at the IRS, who has distorted the department from a neutral, unbiased revenue collection agency into a weapon of terror against enemies of the regime. And the same for other departments, the EPA, the FCC, and more and more. And not just at the federal level, but also at state and local government level. In California, the Attorney General there is asking for information from conservative groups, only from conservative groups, mind you. That is just chilling because they're asking for information about donors. And Americans for Prosperity, a right-wing group funded by the Koch brothers, has refused to give it, and now they're embroiled in a legal battle. Right? So what's happening? The regressive rats have come out of the shadows, and they're doing all they can to just destroy our way of life, knowing that the vermin exterminators are being suppressed by their dear leader. Yes, we are being prevented from doing anything to stop these regressive rats doing all this crap. Unbelievable. Okay, folks, I see we have come to, or we've actually gone well past the middle point of the show. So, Mary, this is for you.
Patriot come lately. British by birth. American by choice. Just like the Founding Fathers. The voice of the conservative resistance.
Every day, millions of Americans grow more concerned about the future of our great nation. The truth is, over the last century, a small but powerful collectivist movement known as progressivism has debased our politics, our culture, and our currency. We're just a small step from falling into 1,000 years of darkness, as Ronald Reagan warned. Friend, this is Pat Boone with an important free offer on a hot new book called The Great Withdrawal by Craig Smith and Lowell Ponte. This new book explains how we, the people, can end this fatal detour into big government and get back on the path of faith and freedom charted by our founders. Call now for a free copy of the hot new book called The Great Withdrawal.
Call now for your free copy. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. That's 800-978-3901.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS that you can't pay? Call now for immediate help. At the Tax Relief Line, we help people just like you. If you take on the IRS alone, you could be facing levies, liens, even wage garnishments, personal or business tax issues. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, call now and see if you can pay less. They can freeze your bank accounts, even garnish your wages. Call the Tax Relief Line now for immediate help. Our expert team of tax professionals will negotiate your tax problem and deal with the IRS for you. If the IRS is threatening you with levies, wage garnishments, or seizing your assets, call now and see if you can pay the IRS less.
888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043.
This is Patriot Come Lately Talk Radio, keeping the spirit of America alive, a proud member of the Red State Talk Radio Network. And folks, thanks for sticking with me. We are into the second half of the show, although it'll be a little shorter than the first half. It's not a true half. Kind of missed my mark for the commercials there, but I wanted to get that last topic out. And I did get a correction from Mary in the chat room. She reminded me I actually had my percentages wrong there. It's so it's 0.03% of the population that fall into that transgender thing. And so we have to upset and mess around with, let's say it's just the right wing, right, which is half the country. We have to upset that half of the country just for 0.03% of the country. That's, folks, No, that's not what it's about. It's about trampling us underfoot, throwing away all of our morality, etc. That's what it's about. It's all about power. Now, I was going to play some music today, and I actually had a couple of songs picked out, but I'm going to bore you. I'm going to keep on these topics. I really need to get through these. You need to see these, and you need to share this with your friends. This is what the regressives are doing with us. Anybody who's even leaning towards voting for Hillary because she's a woman needs to know what these regressives are doing and are doing to our country. So, and they do it because they know that they can get away with it. Another prime example of that happened in the last week, since the last show. The shocking revelation that Ben Rhodes had been telling lies to the American people and the Congress about the background to the Iran nuclear deal. Just playing us because they think, maybe they know, the American people are nothing more than useful idiots. Which perhaps we are, for letting them get away with these shenanigans. But also fire on the congressional oversight committees. They're supposed to look into these sort of things and prevent this sort of thing happening. Now, on the one hand, I'll admit they were probably being kept in the dark by the regime and by Ben Rhodes. But shame on them for not recognizing that. They have access to intelligence data. There must have been signs in the intelligence data that some of the things which the regime claimed only started at a certain point had been happening much earlier. And then again, the Congress would be too lily-livered to stand up to Adolf Hussein Obama, and so they never did anything. And as Rex said, he pulled a Gruber. We've already seen this, right? What was it, a year or so ago with Gruber, with Obamacare? Yeah, America was too stupid and we just pulled one over on them. And it's exactly what Ben Rhodes did. Folks, wake up. We're just letting these people waltz over us. I mean, it's just absolutely disgusting that they do it, that we can't trust our leaders to be honest. But worse than that we let them get away with it. We should be throwing, you know what they do in, ISIS, they throw the gays off the top of windows. We should take people like this. Maybe we should throw them off the top of buildings for lying to us, or at the very least throw them into prison, throw them out of their jobs, right? I mean, it is just absolutely disgusting. Now, I think, and I hope, and I pray that the American people sense that something is critically wrong in Washington, D.C. Even if they don't exactly know what it is. I think that explains the rise of a rank outsider like Trump. They want him to come in and clean house. Even Bernie Sanders, who's seen sort of as an outsider, even though he's been in the Congress for yonks, so he's not really as much as an outsider. But he's more of an outsider than Hilliar, right? So I think the America is sensing. I'm hoping, because it is a chance for us to perhaps rescue the country. Now, I'll say it again. Is Donald Trump perfect? No. But if he does 90% of what he said he will do and promised to do, and even if some of it means, okay, he won't be quite as overt, won't be quite as direct as he said it, there may be some negotiations involved, but if he does 90 or even 80% of what he said he will do, then that will go a long way to saving the country. Now, if he does that, of course, that's going to make it life difficult for a lot of the Washington elites. In a lot of cases, you can call them regressives, whether they're left-wing or right-wing, but elites, I think, is a better term. And they know it. And it isn't just necessarily them, because congressmen, if they get elected in again, even if they don't agree with Trump, they're going to be there. They're going to be singing. The people that are worried are the lobbyists, because they know that with Trump in there, he's going to clean house. There will be less corruption. Won't all go away immediately. It's a difficult thing to get rid of, but it will go down. And then, of course, that's their bread and butter. So they're going to lose power. They're going to lose money. And, of course, no wonder that they're in a tizzy. And, this, I call it the volcanic eruption of hate against the Donald. And the reason for that, if you were going to lose your livelihood, or maybe not even your livelihood, but at least you were going to have your salary go down, you wouldn't be happy about it at all, would you? Anyway, we'll see. But let me have another example of how the elites think that they can do what they like without reference to existing laws. Judicial Watch has been hammering the State Department to get emails, and they finally got some more. Now, they shouldn't. They've been going at this for 2-3 years, trying to get these emails. FOIA says you've got to kind of deliver them in 30 days or 90 days, whatever. State Department dragging its feet forever. And, well, before we talk about what came out in the emails, let me just say one thing about that. The fact that the State Department is dragging its feet. The fact that Koskinen at the IRS is allowing the IRS to be used as a weapon of terror against opponents of the regime. The EPA, all those government departments, as I said, are being seeded with people with this left-wing ideology, a hate for everything that this country stands for. It is going to be very difficult to sort that out in the short term. First of all, you have these draconian laws about firing people in the civil service, which is absolutely disgusting. If they don't do their job, we ought to be able to get rid of them. And if somebody like Koskinen, who's obviously misusing the IRS, we should just be able to boot him. But as we've seen at the VA, there's another one. The VA is just is a bonus generating organization as far as most of the management there are concerned. Nothing to do with looking after the vets. It's just about making their own bonuses. And of course, yes, we all like money, but no, it's totally disgusting that. So it's going to be a hard. It's going to be a hard trip for the Donald cleaning house. We'll have to see how well he might be able to do that. And oops, folks, time is rushing by. I see that got to go to one final commercial break, and then I will finish off on what Hillary has been caught doing yet again.
The offer of a franchise can only be made through delivery of a franchise disclosure document. Imagine yourself being a leader in America's fastest growing demographic category. More than 10,000 people a day turn 65, and a large percentage are going to need a helping hand at home or in choosing the right assisted living community. Always Best Care is looking for people who've excelled at everything they've done, but they're seeking a new challenge. Always Best Care is one of the fastest growing companies in this explosive field. We're looking for 25 new franchisees to keep our booming business growing. We'll back you up with the strongest award-winning marketing program in the industry. And we'll provide the special training and support that's fueled our growth to prepare you for this great opportunity. All that's missing is you. Call Always Best Care toll-free at 1-800-643-7508. That's 1-800-643-7508. For Always Best Care, 1-800-643-7508. Call today.
Are you worried about losing your home to foreclosure? If you've been threatened with foreclosure or received legal papers from your bank, you have approximately 30 days to respond. If you do not respond, you could lose your home. You have rights. Act now to protect your rights. You can stay in your home. Many times you can even modify your loan. The bottom line is you can get past this, but you must act right now. Call National Foreclosure Defense right now at 800-296-3006, 800-296-3006. If you've been served by your bank and you're worried about losing your home to foreclosure, now is the time to fight back and save your home. Time is limited, so call right now. 800-296-3006, 800-296-3006. Call the professionals at National Foreclosure Defense right now. 800-296-3006.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us. Okay, folks, we're into about the last 8 or 9 minutes of the show. I promise you some blood-boiling topics, and I have another couple. There's one I think I may have to hold over, but I'll let you know at the end of the show. So, I was talking about some more email revelations. This is one about Hillary Clinton directing a top aide to call her via an unsecured phone line when technical troubles prevented a secure phone conversation. So in the email, Hilliar says, "I give up, call me on my home number," which is most likely not a secure line. According to the email, after more than an hour of trouble trying to communicate via a secure line. And then Cheryl Mill answers, "I just spoke to Ops and called your regular line. We have to wait until we see each other because the technology is not working," which was an email sent around about the same time. "Please try again," responded Clinton. So let's think about it, folks. Clinton and Cheryl Mills, who was the chief of staff, are trying to communicate on a secure line. So that says to me they wanted to discuss something that needed to be discussed on a secure line. But because it didn't work, Miss Hoity-Toity, I vote for me because I'm a woman. Or actually, vote for me because I'm a woman! Bit closer. She decided she would do it on an unsecured line. Now, who knows? Maybe what they were discussing wasn't all that security, wasn't all that secret. Maybe it wasn't secret at all, but then why were they trying to talk on a secure line? So it kind of indicates it must have been something, because Cheryl Mills says, "Well, I'll wait till I see you. I'm not going to talk to you this on an unsecure line." So Cheryl Mills in her return emails indicating that this was something that Cheryl Mills knew had to be on the line, and the harpy tells Cheryl, "No, just call me anyway." So, folks, that shows how much disregard Hilliar has for the laws of this country. Now, we know that, but you have to tell folks, anybody you know who's thinking of voting for the Bicked Witch needs to be told that the country cannot have someone like that in power, right? Just because she's a woman doesn't mean she can break all the laws of the land. So, will she get indicted on something like this? No, but I think it goes to show what kind of mindset she had about that. And Judicial Watch says this drip, drip, drip of new Clinton emails shows how Hillary Clinton could not care less about the security of her communications, and it gives an attitude which shows why the emails on the private server, probably very true and most likely hacked, right, as we talked about last week. So, I mean, it's just unbelievable. Okay, folks. Now, what we are seeing here, and then I want to close this topic out, is that officials at all levels of government distort the truth, ignore the law, and act in manners to support their partisan agendas instead of acting for the best of the country. This is not what the Founding Fathers intended when they created this country. We now see that they never suspected that people with so few morals could ascend to power. Because let's remember, the Constitution is designed for a righteous people, not for a corrupt, untrustworthy bunch of crooks. So I want to bring one quick positive note, if I may. Mary's going, so God bless Mary. Thanks for coming. Have a good sleep. But I do want to end on one kind of positive note. Let me see. Do we have? Yes, we've got time for this. We hear the others talking about how Donald Trump's campaign has been an issue of immigration, one of the main ones, and most people believe it's one of the foremost problems in the US at the moment. But the left will always tell, oh no, that's wrong, it's bad, it's whatever. Well, let's have a look. And I'd like to talk about things happening in Europe. Most of the time I talk about stupid, regressive things that are happening there and that we know are going to be coming here. Well, here's something that's happening there that I hope does come here. And it's basically the Prime Minister of Hungary watched swarms of asylum seekers pouring across Europe, arriving from the Middle East and Africa, and wreaking havoc upon the countries, which in an almost suicidal fashion have taken them in. And of course there were lots of red flags, right? Including an inability to adequately vet the migrants. So who knows what we've got. Now, last September, so this is last year, when the Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban, recognized the situation along the Balkan route to Germany was getting out of control, he ordered a 100-mile-long, 12-foot-high razor wire fence be built on the country's border with Serbia. When the refugees revolted, he sent law enforcement to preserve the wall and keep the migrant flow out. Now, you know what happened? Well, guess what? Unfortunately, this is not a TV show, so I can't show you, but I have a graph where they showed the number of migrants crossing the border, the 30 days prior to the fence being built. It hovers for a long while between about 1,800 to 4,000 a day, and then towards the last few days as the fence is being built, it shoots up. Of course, that's probably people trying to get across before the fence was finished, going up to almost 10,000 on the last day. Once the fence was built, that number dropped down, and it is just an insignificant thing. Probably looks like possibly a few hundred or something like that, or maybe even less. I don't know what the exact number is. Now, Orban was criticized as racist and xenophobe. Ooh, that sounds familiar. But he refused to back down. And he just said, no, this would be stupid for us not to do it. To us, this is a fundamental, unavoidable, essential question of Hungarian politics, he said. So he stood firm on that. Okay, folks, time has caught up with me, and we do have to go. So I want to say thank you for coming. Plenty of blood boiling tonight, TTFN, and I've got a few more topics for next week, so come back next week. Thanks. Thank you for listening to the show. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's topics. Whether you listened live, to a recording, or to a rebroadcast, I appreciate the time you share with me. We need to spread the message of liberty far and wide, so please tell your friends and family about the show. Thank you for helping to keep the beacon of hope burning. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, signing off. God bless America, and remember, L3, long live liberty.